Hello, everybody. My name's Grady, and I'm going to be doing my presentation on Smed, which is something that I caught interest in and learned a little bit more about in the lean management class. I thought it was a really interesting topic for me, and I was actually able to apply it in my actual life in one of the assignments that we did, and I'll get into that later. But so yeah, let's get right into it. So what exactly is Smed? Smed stands for Single Minute Exchange of Dies. The goal of Smed is to reduce the changeover times to the smallest practical increment, which would be kind of like if you had something that took 5 hours, you would want that to be like a minute, whatever. So you want to reduce it, whether that be by an hour or a minute, it just needs to be reduced, as long as you're reducing time. Smed is important in the lean because it helps to reduce the waste of time as well. So here's a little bit of the history of Smed. It was developed by Shingo, I can't pronounce his first name, I'm going to go with the last name, in the 1950s. He spent about 19 years coming up with the best way to reduce changeover times. And he managed to reduce that time at Toyota Mazda from about 2 to 8 hours to just 3 minutes, which is a lot. And he was very successful in his research in doing so. So there's two primary elements at play with Smed, and that is internal setup, which can only be done when the machine is stopped, and external setup, which can only be done while the machine is still running. So, for instance, for internal setup, let's take a computer, for example. You can't be going in and touching the inside of a computer while it's still running because it might just break and quit working. So you have to turn it off, make sure all the safety precautions are taken, and then go to work on a computer. For external setup, though, that's stuff that can be done while the machine is still running, whether that's using the software on the computer or cleaning the computer. You can do that, clean the outside of it without it turning it off, stuff like that. And the goal of Smed is to turn as many internal setups into external setups in order to reduce changeover times. So you want to turn as many of those things as you can from not being able to do things into being able to do things while this machine is still running. There are 5 steps that are actually suggested for Smed to actually work properly. So there's identify and separate. This is where you want to identify the different types of that we went through just a minute ago, the internal and external, and you want to separate them and be able to tell which is which. So then you simplify those, and you simplify them. You simplify the internal setup tasks to minimize their duration. So this is where we're kind of starting to identify which ones are the internal ones, so that way we can start to go to the next step, which is convert. We want to convert those internal setup tasks into external setup tasks through different methods and equipment design, so that way we can decrease those changeover times. And then the next step is to standardize. This is where we want to standardize the setup process and develop a clear procedure. That way it'll be done the same every time, and that way we don't accidentally increase the changeover time. We want that to stay the same so we can always keep those times low. And then you want to continuously improve. I mean, you want to refine the setup process through measurement analysis and feedback in order to take that standardized method and make it even better. We always want to be able to improve and decrease those times. So for my example that I mentioned earlier, for my assignment 3, I did a little project on the driving range, which is, if you don't know what it is if you play golf. It's a really fun sport that I'm getting into, and in order to practice, you normally go to this place called a driving range, and you go out there, you drive to it, you pay for a bucket of golf balls, and you hit all of those, and then you drive home, so on and so forth. So that takes me a total of probably an hour to do that. So you would set aside about an hour. It's 10 minutes to drive to the driving range, get the balls, hit them all, and drive back another 10 minutes. It took about an hour. And so the main project here that I was trying to accomplish was reducing that amount of commuting time. So no, I didn't just start speeding. I bought a net that you can buy and put in your backyard in order for you to not have to go anywhere to practice hitting golf balls. So you just buy it, you put it in, it's weatherproof, it's able to stay outside, and it's just right outside this door here to my right. And so therefore, instead of having to drive the 10 minutes there and 10 minutes back after I got done, it just takes about 30 seconds for me to get outside. I mean, it stays up all the time. I've got my stuff always here. I've got golf balls, I've got what I need, and it's right outside my door. And I've thought that this little project really did help me to understand how this reducing time actually worked by just finding a different solution. And I really enjoyed being able to do so. So, of course, then here's the advantages of Smed. I mean, you have lower costs. Like I said about the driving range a second ago, you do have to go out there and you do have to pay for it. Unlike for here, I get to do it for free. So it helped me understand that a little bit more. It's a lot more efficient because I can spend more time here than I can there, just based on budgets and how long it takes to actually go out there. Is it's more efficient for me. And then speed, of course. I mean, it doesn't take me 20 extra minutes to be able to go and just hit golf balls. I can do it right here in my backyard. So there's a lot of different advantages that come into play with Smed, and I think it's a great process, and we can all use it in our daily lives a lot more than we think we can. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate everybody taking your time to just sit and listen to my presentation. I hope you guys can use Smed in your lives as well.